as I've said 1,000 times, and at some point it'll be 1,000,000 times, I've been doing a series on a million little things, and probably about a year ago, I had the epiphany that there is no epiphany. The epiphany is there is no epiphany. Trading is not like you get, bam. Okay, I know, I've got it figured out. Yes, I know exactly what to do. I'm just going to make a lot of money. It's a million little things, and I'll give you one this morning. I had a stock that I wanted to trade, and I actually forgot to look at it because I didn't pull up my screen, that particular screen or whatever. And so that's just one little tiny thing. And believe me, there are many. And this is one reason I'm doing this series. And as you'll see in 1 second, there's details are very important, and details, a million little things I think kind of dovetail together. But anyway, it's going to be a million little bitty things that are going to make you a successful trader, and not just one big deal, one big thing. So number 633,701, getting to know you. Getting to know you, getting to know all about you. You want to take a, oh, Chief Allman really wound up today. You want to take a personality test, and that comes from the mental edge of trading. And this is by Jason Williams, and this is Larry Williams' son. And he's an MD, and he's also a psychiatrist. It's a really good book. And this is what I wrote on my website. If you go to davelandry.com/books-to-read, you can get it there from Amazon. This one's from Larry Williams' son. My copy is dog-eared, underlined, and filled with notes in the margins. I plan on several rereads. My biggest takeaway was to take a psychological traits test. Through this, I found that I have some traits that were not so good for trading. And we'll go over those in 1 second. Full disclosure. I had low and nearly no score in agreeableness. In addition, a little neurology and lots of psychology. In addition to a little neurology and lots of psychology, he does case studies on psychological traits of famous traders such as his dad, Larry, Linda, Rasky, and others. Anyway, highly recommend you read this book. Just in the forward, and after reading the forward this morning, rereading it, I'm probably going to spend a little bit more time on this book in the near future, just because it's good stuff in it. And in the forward, Larry says, I learned that in order to change taking incorrect action and not changing detrimental habits, we really do need to know ourselves. Without knowing yourself, how can change occur? And I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Trading is really more of knowing yourselves than knowing the markets. Obviously, knowing the markets is important, but just realize that you're emotional and markets are emotional, and those are the two biggest things to realize. And as I've said before, from a neurological standpoint, you cannot get rid of emotions. They're part of your makeup. While intellectually I can develop systems, my personality is not one to follow them. Like I said a second ago, somebody developed a system, it worked, but he just couldn't follow it, so he had somebody else follow it. So Larry went on to say, or he was talking about the fact that he's a discretionary trader and he could build systems, but he realizes now, especially with help from his son, that he realizes now why it's hard to sometimes follow him. What I didn't know was that my largest trading weaknesses have been my lack of paying attention to detail. Good Lord, am I guilty there? What did I just admit this morning? I forgot to look at a stock. Luckily, it didn't trigger that I was thinking about. I was in the shower a few minutes ago. I thought of a few more things, okay? I had a stock that was in a Landry list not that long ago, TOI, and I put in an order to sell 200 shares in after hours trading, good to cancel type of order. And I was supposed to put an order for 2,000 shares, and that was on one of my smaller accounts. I was supposed to do that. So that was a big mistake that I made. I heard the zing go off, and I got all excited because I hit my initial profit target. And then I was like, wait a minute, why do I still have 1,800 shares of those 2,000 that I meant to sell? And when I checked the order, the order was for only 200. So details or big, and I'm not a very good details oriented person. Clearly, I'm not the world's best detailed person. Amen, my brother from another mother. Not even close, but I never realized until reading Jason's work and understanding how much of a hindrance that was to making my trading even more successful. And I think that dovetails in with a million little things. And Larry went on to say, by the way, speaking of details, you've got to watch Big Dave's Million Little Things series. Successful trading really is a million little things. Thank you, Larry. It was very nice of you to say that. All right, so I took my personality test and I failed in a couple of aspects of it. I was very low in agreeableness and I scored 0 in modesty. Those are not good traits for trading. I remember, as I said 1,000 times before, my wife and my youngest daughter were home at the time, and I went in the house and right after I took this test, and I'm like, "Can you believe this? I scored low in agreeableness," and they both looked at me like I pooed my pants. So I'm not. It's like I'll argue anything if I think I'm right, and I'm pretty adamant about it. But I have been wrong quite a bit in my life, which makes me realize that maybe I shouldn't be so confident, and maybe I should be a little bit more agreeable. But this has helped me tremendously. Just like Larry Williams said, getting to know you is really important. This has helped me tremendously because every time I go into a trade this morning, for instance, I found myself with this in the back of my head. It's like, oh man, this looks good. I'm jumping in. It's like, well, hang on, Dave. Could you be wrong? Okay, could Big Dave actually be wrong? Believe me, I'm wrong a lot. And it just gives me that mental pause that is sometimes needed in trading. And not to go too far off on a tangent, imagine that, and you go off on a tangent. But I've done presentations before talking about the inner brain, the outer brain, the lizard brain, and the rest of it sloshing around that sits on top of it. And this is what makes you you, and this lizard brain down below is which creates your animal instincts, and we're still animals, right? And getting from that lizard brain, which is very emotional, and it has to be because if you're in a life or death situation, you're going to have to make a quick snap decision, and you don't have time to mull it around in the rest of your brain. You've got to act quickly. So it is important for you to have that part of your brain, but that primitive brain deep within can cause you a lot of trouble. And that's why neurology is important. And like I said earlier, it's been a while since I read this. So I need to reread it. And I've got notes. I mean, just stupid notes everywhere, all in the margins and everywhere. Just inspired by this. But one of the simplest things you could do is take a little pause before trading and let the rest of what's sloshing around up there think through what you're doing, as opposed to let that amygdala and that little lizard brain take over. Anyway, my lack of agreeableness makes me realize that every time I go to trade, I do think I'm the greatest guy in the world. I'm going to make money on this trade. And why would you go and trade if you think you'd make money? But you can be wrong. And there's two types of personalities. There's toward personalities, there's away personalities, but both are necessary. I'm a big fan of Clarkson's Farm. I just enjoy the heck out. I like Jeremy Clarkson. He's just a trip. But Jerry, he's the eternal optimist, hopeful, and he's just a lot of fun. And I guess you have $200 million or whatever he's worth, you could be that way. But he has what he calls Cheerful Charlie, which is the guy who's grounded in reality. So Charlie has an away from personality. Jeremy has a toward personality. But you need both of those, okay? You need to be motivated. And what's the old saying? I was going to be a pessimist, but I figured it wouldn't work out. I think that's Stephen Wright. You need both, and you need to be enthusiastic when it comes to trading. Enthusiasm, I think that's my second favorite asm. My first would be sarcasm. But anyway, you have to be positive. You have to be positive in life, but in trading, sometimes you have to be a little bit negative as far as what could go wrong. What does the guy on the other side of the trade know? What does opposite George, so to speak, know?